Claire Willis stood on the edge of the colony's main platform, looking at the bright horizon. The settlement had grown over the past 5 years, but even now, it felt fragile. Ships were being loaded for the next trade route when alarms suddenly rang. Loud sirens shook the colony, and warning lights flashed red. Jack Taylor, her lieutenant, ran to her side. His face was tense, his eyes scanning the skies. "They're coming fast," he said. "We have no time to evacuate." Claire felt a chill run through her. The fleet approaching was large, faster, and more organized than anything the colony had faced. She saw the shapes of human ships in formation. At first, she thought they were allies. But the weapons fire told a different story. Trade ships and cargo carriers exploded in fireballs. Settlers screamed and ran in every direction. Claire took a deep breath and grabbed a communicator. "Everyone who can fight, gather at the defense points. Hold your ground and protect the civilians," she ordered. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not helpless." Jack joined her and shouted orders to the nearby squad. Settlers with rifles, old weapons, and even farming tools tried to prepare for the worst. Claire moved among them, showing that courage mattered as much as strength. The first wave of attackers landed on the platform. Claire and Jack led a small group of defenders into the fight. The raiders moved with precision, using strategies that looked like old military training. Claire recognized some of the maneuvers. She had trained in the academy long ago, and these moves were familiar. She fired her weapon at an advancing attacker, ducked behind a barricade, and saw Jack take down 2 more. Settlers were panicked, but they followed Claire's commands. Her voice carried over the chaos. "Stand your ground. Aim carefully, you can win this," she shouted. Words gave hope and focus. As the battle raged, Claire noticed a ship hovering above the main platform. She realized it carried heavy weapons and planned to destroy the settlement completely. She needed to stop it. With Jack by her side, she led a small team to take it down. Using their knowledge of the colony layout, they set traps and launched counterattacks, slowing the ship's assault. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed through the comm system. Claire froze. The voice was commanding, confident, and cold. She could not place it at first, but then memories came flooding back. It was Alina Hart, a former cadet she had trained with many years ago. They had been friends, but separated by time and duty. Claire's heart tightened. Someone she once trusted was now leading this attack. Jack noticed her pause. "Claire," he asked, concern in his voice. "We need you here." She shook her head and focused again. Personal feelings could not stop the battle. She gave hand signals to her team, directing them to cover key points. Settlers with courage but little training began fighting with surprising skill, using traps, barricades, and every resource they could find. The attackers were strong, but the colony defenders knew the terrain. They used tunnels, narrow passages, and the platform's height to their advantage. Claire and Jack fought side by side, showing that even ordinary humans could match trained soldiers with the right strategy. Hours passed, but no one gave up. Explosions and gunfire filled the air. Smoke and dust covered the platform. Claire felt exhaustion, but she kept moving. Each victory, each small victory, gave them hope. Finally, the first wave of attackers retreated. The colony was battered, buildings were damaged, but the people were alive. Claire looked around at the exhausted faces of the settlers and squad members. Jack approached her, wiping sweat and blood from his face. "We held them back," he said quietly. Claire nodded. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. They will return, stronger and faster. We need to prepare. Every person here needs to know they can fight or they will not survive." As the sun set over the destroyed horizon, Claire and Jack stood together, watching the attackers disappear into the distance. The colony was safe for now, but the shadow of the next attack loomed. Claire clenched her fists, determined. She would not let this colony fall. She would protect the people at any cost. This was the first day of a war that would test every ounce of courage and skill they had. And Claire knew deep down that what happened today would change everything for the colony and for her life. Claire and Jack walked through the damaged streets of the colony. Smoke rose from burned buildings, and the air was filled with dust and ash. Settlers were helping each other, carrying wounded and salvaging supplies. Claire's mind raced. She needed answers about the attackers. Jack spoke first. "Claire, We need to understand who we are fighting. They are organized like trained soldiers. This is not a random raid. Claire nodded. She had a feeling she already knew. She headed toward the command center, searching for any records or communications from the attackers. Inside, she found encrypted messages. With Jack's help, she decrypted them. Her eyes widened as she read. The leader of the attackers was Elena Hart. Claire could hardly believe it. The same Elena she had trained with at the academy years ago. They had once been friends, but now, Elena led a force to destroy the colony. Memories came rushing back. Claire remembered long hours of training, laughing together after exhausting drills, sharing dreams of serving humanity. How could Elena turn into an enemy? The thought made her stomach twist. Jack noticed her silence. "Claire's at her?" he asked. Claire nodded, her voice steady. "Yes, it is Elena Hart. She was one of the best cadets. We trained together." "I never imagined this." Jack frowned. "We need to prepare. If she comes back, we have to fight smarter." Claire agreed. She called a meeting with the colony leaders. Settlers gathered, tired and anxious. She spoke clearly. "We have faced our first attack. We survived because we fought together and used our minds. But Elena Hart will return, and she will be stronger. We must train, organize, and prepare. Every person here must be ready to defend themselves." Settlers nodded, determined. Some were scared, but Claire's words inspired them. Jack began organizing training drills. They taught settlers how to use weapons, set traps, and work in teams. Claire focused on strategy, showing them how to read the enemy, anticipate movements, and use the colony layout to their advantage. During training, Claire and Jack found a hidden storage room with old weapons and equipment left by previous settlers. There were rifles, grenades, and makeshift armor. It was enough to give them a fighting chance. They distributed weapons carefully, prioritizing those willing and able to fight. One evening, Claire received a communication from the outskirts of the colony. A small group of settlers reported strange movements near the hills. Claire and Jack went to investigate. They discovered scouts from Elena's fleet, observing the colony quietly. Claire realized they were mapping the colony, learning weaknesses. Jack whispered they are planning something big. Claire nodded. "Cannot wait for them to attack. We need to strike first, or we will be caught off guard." They set a trap. Using the terrain and leftover supplies, they created an ambush for the scouts. When Elena's men arrived, they were surprised by the defenders' strategy. Settlers fought bravely, taking down several scouts. The ambush gave the colony confidence and a small victory to boost morale. After the ambush, Claire called Jack aside. "We need to talk about Elena. I cannot ignore the past. She was my friend. Maybe if I understand her motives, we can predict her next move." Jack looked uneasy. "Be careful. She is ruthless. We cannot let sentiment cloud judgment," Claire agreed. She sent a private message through the decrypted channel, pretending to be a negotiator. She wanted to know why Elena was attacking, without revealing her identity. Hours later, a response came. Lena demanded the colony surrender or face total destruction. Her tone was firm, confident, and full of authority. Claire felt a chill. Lena had changed. She was no longer the cadet she once knew. She had become a leader, hardened by power and ambition. Claire knew this war would test not only strength, but also the mind and spirit. That night, Claire and Jack stood on a hill overlooking the colony. Fires burned in the distance, but the people were alive and ready. Claire clenched her fists, her mind focused. "We will be ready," she said. "We will protect this place and everyone in it. Elena Hart will not break us." Jack nodded. "Together, we can face anything." The colony slept fitfully, knowing the war had only begun. Claire and Jack planned the next steps, training settlers and preparing defenses. They knew the coming battles would be tougher, but with courage, strategy, and unity, they could survive the storm Elena had brought upon them. Claire and Jack moved quickly through the colony, checking defenses and giving instructions. Settlers were learning fast, their fear slowly turning into determination. Barricades were strengthened, traps were set, and scouts patrolled the perimeter. Claire knew Elena Hart would not wait long to attack again. At dawn, reports came in. Small groups of Elena's forces were approaching the outer fields. Claire gathered her squad, including settlers who had shown courage and skill during training. She spoke clearly. "We will not wait for them to reach the colony. We will strike first and slow them down. Follow my lead and watch each other's backs." Jack nodded and took his position beside her. They moved quietly, hiding behind rocks and trenches, waiting for the enemy to enter the trap zone. The first raider squad appeared on the horizon. They were armed and disciplined, but they did not expect resistance so far from the main colony. Claire gave the signal. Grenades exploded near the advancing soldiers, sending them into confusion. Settlers fired from behind barricades and rocks, taking out the attackers one by one. The raiders tried to regroup, but the traps and ambushes slowed them down. Claire and Jack moved through the battlefield, helping where needed and directing fighters to weak points. As the skirmish continued, Claire noticed a familiar stance. One of the raiders fought with precision she remembered from academy days. She realized it was a former cadet now loyal to Alina. She felt a pang of sadness, but there was no time to hesitate. She shouted orders and helped the settlers capture the soldier. Jack spotted another group trying to flank them. He fired his weapon and pushed the settlers to hold their ground. The defenders fought with courage, using every advantage of the terrain. Even ordinary settlers, who had never held a weapon before, showed bravery. They were determined to survive. Claire paused to check on a young fighter named Lily. She was injured but still holding her rifle. "You were doing well," Claire said. "Keep fighting. Help each other. We'll win this together." Lily nodded, inspired by Claire's words. She and other settlers regained confidence, pushing back the attackers further. The battle lasted hours. Some raiders managed to escape, but their advance was stopped. The colony suffered losses, but the first counterattack was a success. Settlers cheered quietly, knowing they had taken the fight to the enemy. After the battle, Claire called a meeting. She looked at the faces of the exhausted but determined settlers. "Today we showed that we are not weak," she said. "Hey, we fought smart together, and we slowed Elena's forces. We will need to train harder and prepare more, because she will return." Jack added, "We also learned something important. We can trust each other and use our brains as much as our weapons. Strategy wins battles." Claire nodded. She then spoke privately to Jack. "This was only the first counterattack. Elena's smart and powerful. We need to plan for her main attack. She will not make mistakes again." Jack agreed. "We should also keep watch for spies or traitors. Someone might try to help her from inside." Claire shivered at the thought. She had faced enemies outside, but now the danger inside the colony could be just as deadly. She instructed trusted settlers to watch the entrances, supply areas, and communication lines. Later, Claire and Jack walked to the top of the main platform, looking out over the battlefield. Burned areas still smoked, but signs of rebuilding appeared. Settlers were fixing barricades and moving wounded to safe areas. The colony was scarred, but alive. "We are stronger than we think," Jack said. "Even facing someone like Alina, we can survive," Claire agreed. "We must keep pushing, training, and preparing. Every person here has a role. Every action matters." The sun set, casting long shadows over the colony. Claire felt a mix of exhaustion and resolve. The first counterattack had shown them what they could do, but she knew Alina Hart would not give up. The coming battles would be harder, but the settlers had hope and courage. Claire clenched her fists. "We will fight, and we will protect our home. Nothing will stop us." Jack stood beside her, ready for the next challenge. Together, they would face whatever came and defend the colony with every ounce of strength they had. Claire and Jack returned to the colony after scouting the outer fields. Settlers were repairing barricades, tending to the wounded, and preparing for the next attack. Claire knew the enemy would strike again soon. She felt a growing tension, a warning that not all dangers were outside. One morning, a trusted settler, Ryan Cole, went missing. Claire and Jack questioned those near him. Whispers of secret messages and suspicious movements reached their ears. Ryan had contacted Alina Hart, promising to reveal the location of the colony's armory. Claire felt a wave of anger and betrayal. One of their own had endangered everyone. Jack clenched his fists. How could he do this? We trusted him. Claire's eyes were hard. We cannot waste time on anger. We need to fix this before he causes more damage. Gather a small team. We move now. They found Ryan near the armory, waiting for Elena's forces. He looked scared, but determined to save himself. Claire confronted him. Why would you betray your own people? Ryan stammered. I thought if I helped them, they would spare me. I did not want to die. Claire shook her head. We fight together, or we all fall. Your choice put everyone at risk.
Oh, waiting.
She gave orders. Fiddlers captured Ryan and secured the armory. Jack checked the surrounding area for incoming threats. Their quick response stopped the immediate danger, but the colony had suffered a near disaster. Claire realized that trust was fragile. She began reassigning roles, placing the most loyal and skilled settlers in critical positions. She trained small squads to respond to emergencies, ensuring the colony could function even if part of it was compromised. Meanwhile, scouts reported new enemy movements. Alina Hart was sending more forces, larger and better armed than before. Claire knew the main attack was coming. She worked tirelessly with Jack, mapping out strategies and preparing defenses that could slow and confuse the enemy. The settlers, though tired, followed Claire's commands. They built hidden trenches, reinforced barricades, and created traps in the fields. Claire moved among them, encouraging and instructing, showing that human determination and intelligence could match any attack. One afternoon, Claire met with Jack on the top of the platform. We cannot rely only on defense. We need to strike when possible. Weaken them before they reach the colony, she said. Nodded. Should focus on small groups, ambushes, anything to slow them down. They sent teams to intercept enemy squads, using the knowledge gained from the previous counterattack. Settlers fought bravely, using traps and terrain to their advantage. Even those inexperienced with weapons learned quickly, following orders and protecting each other. During one ambush, Claire noticed a raider carrying supplies. As she signaled her team, and they successfully captured it. Inside, they found maps and plans detailing Elena's next movements. Claire studied them carefully. The enemy would attack in force at the northern gate. This information was critical. Claire called a meeting with the leaders. We know their plan now. We'll use it against them. The northern gate will be prepared, and we will have traps and squads ready. Every person has a role. We must fight together with courage and precision. Jack added, we also need to watch for spies.
Oh.
Ryan Cole showed us that betrayal can come from inside. Keep eyes open, trust actions more than words. As night fell, settlers took positions, trained and prepared. Claire walked among them, checking weapons and morale. Everyone was nervous but determined. The attack was coming, and this time it would be larger and more dangerous. Claire stood on the platform with Jack, looking at the colony. Fires from previous skirmishes lit the horizon. Settlement was scarred but alive. She felt a mix of anger and resolve. Betrayal had tested them, but they had survived. With careful planning, courage, and teamwork, they would face whatever Alina Hart brought next.
Nice.
She clenched her fists. We cannot fail. Every life here matters. We fight for each other and for our home. This colony will survive. Jack stood beside her, ready to follow her lead. Together, they prepared for the battle that would decide the future of the colony and everyone who lived there. Claire stood on the platform, looking out at the northern gate. The horizon was quiet, but she knew it would not stay that way. Scouts had reported enemy movements, and the main attack led by Alina Hart was coming. The colony had prepared, but Claire knew Alina was dangerous and clever. Jack joined her, holding a map of the colony and enemy positions. They will come from the north, just as we expected. We have traps and squads ready, but we need to be alert. Claire nodded. She called a meeting with all the leaders and trained settlers. Alina Hart wants us to surrender. She thinks fear will make us yield. We will not. We fight for our home, for our people, and for our future. Every person here has a role. Follow orders, stay sharp, and protect each other. The settlers listened, their faces serious. Fear was present, but determination burned stronger. They had survived attacks before and knew what was at stake. Jack distributed weapons and assigned positions. Some teams would defend the walls, others would set traps in the fields, and scouts would monitor the enemy. Claire moved among them, checking readiness and giving words of encouragement. Everyone knew the coming battle would be hard. Hours passed and the enemy finally appeared on the horizon. Alina Hart led her forces confidently, her command clear and precise. The attackers moved fast, but the colony was ready. Traps slowed their advance and ambushes took out squads before they could reach the gate. Claire directed her squad with skill, moving from point to point, assisting where needed. Settlers fought with courage, showing intelligence and strategy. Even inexperienced fighters learned quickly, following Claire and Jack's instructions. The enemy pressed harder, trying to overwhelm the defenses. Claire noticed a group attempting to flank the gate. She shouted orders and repositioned her forces. Jack covered the walls with sharpshooters, taking down raiders as they advanced. During the fight, Alina Hart sent a message demanding surrender again. Claire received it through the CUM system and held it in her hand. Looked at her fighters and spoke clearly, "We will not surrender. This colony belongs to us, and we will defend it. Give them our courage and strength, not fear." Jack nodded, and the settlers roared in agreement. Morale surged. The defenders used every advantage of the terrain, the traps, and the knowledge of the colony layout to slow the enemy. Every victory, every small success, strengthened their resolve. Claire noticed one of the raiders carrying important supplies. She signaled her squad to capture it. They moved swiftly and took the supplies, finding plans and weapons that could have given Alina an advantage. This success turned the tide in several sections of the battlefield. The fighting was intense. The defenders suffered losses, but each setback was met with renewed effort. Claire personally led charges, inspired settlers, and coordinated every move. Jack provided backup, directing reinforcements and covering vulnerable points. After hours of battle, the enemy began to retreat, slowed and weakened. The colony had held. Fires burned in the fields and smoke filled the air, but the settlement stood firm. The settlers were tired, injured, but proud. They had faced a major threat and survived. Claire called a meeting with Jack and the leaders. "We have shown Alina Hart that we will not yield. She will be back, but we are stronger now. We learned from this fight and can prepare even better for the next one," Jack added. "We have courage, skill, and unity. That is more powerful than any weapon she has." Claire nodded. She looked at the northern gate and then at the horizon. The enemy had retreated, but the war was not over. She felt pride in the settlers and confidence in their ability to defend the colony. The next attacks would be harder, but they were ready. As night fell, Claire and Jack walked through the settlement, checking the wounded and making sure everyone was safe. They knew the fight had strengthened the colony, teaching them the value of courage, strategy, and unity. Claire clenched her fists, determined. "We will survive every attack. We will protect our home. No matter what Alina Hart sends, we will face it together." Jack stood beside her, ready to fight again. Together, they would lead the colony through the coming storms, ensuring that every person would have a chance to live and defend their home. Claire and Jack prepared for the decisive battle. The colony was ready. Every settler had a role, and every weapon was in place. They had studied Alina Hart's tactics and were ready to counter them. The northern gate was heavily fortified, traps were set, and reinforcements were positioned for rapid response. The sun rose, and Alina's fleet appeared on the horizon. They moved with precision, their plan clear. Claire gave the signal. Settlers manned the defenses, and squads moved into ambush positions. Jack coordinated sharpshooters on the walls and prepared reinforcements for weak points. Alina's forces struck quickly, testing the colony's defenses. Grenades and gunfire filled the air. Claire moved from point to point, assisting where needed and keeping morale high. Settlers followed her lead, showing courage and skill. Even those who had never fought before now moved confidently, using their training and instincts. Claire noticed a group attempting to flank the northern gate. She directed her squad to intercept them. They fought fiercely, slowing the enemy and causing confusion. The settlers used every advantage of terrain, traps, and surprise to outsmart the attackers. Jack saw enemy forces approaching the walls, gave orders to fire at precise moments, taking out key attackers. The defenders fought with determination, knowing the colony's survival depended on their courage and teamwork. During the chaos, Claire spotted Alina Hart herself, leading a squad through the battlefield. She was focused, commanding, and relentless. Claire felt a mix of fear and resolve. This was the moment that would decide the battle. She signaled Jack and moved with her best fighters to confront Alina directly. The two leaders faced each other, human against human, each skilled and determined. The fight was intense, weapons clashing, strategy meeting strategy. Claire remembered their training days, but There was no friendship here, only survival. Jack and other squads kept the rest of the enemy forces occupied, using traps and clever maneuvers to weaken them. Settlers moved bravely, helping each other and following Claire's commands. Even those inexperienced showed courage, inspired by the determination around them. Claire and Alina fought with skill and strategy. Claire noticed Elena's confidence and used it against her. With a swift move, Claire forced Alina to retreat, disarming her without ending her life. Alina fell back, stunned but alive. Claire held her weapon steady and spoke firmly. "This colony will not be broken. Leave now, or face defeat." Alina, realizing her forces were weakened and the colony was stronger than she expected, signaled retreat. Her soldiers fell back, regrouping and leaving the battlefield. The colony had survived the decisive attack. Settlers cheered, tired but victorious. Fires burned around the northern gate, smoke rising into the sky, but the colony stood firm. Claire and Jack moved among the defenders, checking on everyone, praising bravery and determination. It faced a major threat and emerged alive. After the battle, Claire called a meeting with leaders and settlers. "Today, we showed that courage, strategy, and unity can overcome even the strongest enemies. Alina Hart has been defeated, but we must remain vigilant. This colony is ours, and we will protect it together," Jack added. "Every person here made a difference. Every action, every decision mattered. Remember this strength, and we will survive any challenge." Claire looked at the settlers, proud and exhausted. They had fought as humans, with courage and intelligence, proving that even in the face of a powerful enemy, they could protect their home. The colony was scarred, but alive, stronger, and united. That night, Claire and Jack stood on the platform, watching the horizon. Alina Hart and her forces were gone, at least for now. Settlers repaired what they could, tending to the wounded and fortifying defenses. Claire felt a deep sense of pride and relief. "We did it," Jack said quietly. Claire nodded. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. We will face more challenges, but we are ready. Together, we can protect our home and each other." The battle had ended, and the colony was quiet, but not peaceful. Smoke still rose from the northern gate, and settlers moved carefully among the ruins. Claire walked through the streets with Jack, checking on the injured and encouraging those repairing buildings. The colony had survived, but the cost had been high. Alina Hart and her remaining forces had retreated beyond the horizon. Claire knew this was not the final confrontation, but for now, the colony was safe. She called a meeting of leaders and settlers to plan the recovery and future defenses. The settlers listened carefully, tired but determined. Claire spoke firmly. "We have faced a great threat and survived. This colony is ours, and we will protect it. Every person has a role, and every action matters. We will rebuild stronger and smarter so that no enemy can break us." Jack added, "We learned what courage, unity, and intelligence can do. The enemy cannot underestimate us again. We are ready for anything." As the settlers began repairing and fortifying, Claire reflected on the journey. The betrayal by Ryan Cole had tested their trust. Attacks had tested their courage, and Alina Hart had tested their strength. Yet, through every challenge, the colony had survived because they fought together. Claire walked to the top of the main platform, looking at the horizon where Alina had disappeared. She felt a mixture of sadness and relief. Alina had once been a friend, a fellow cadet, but ambition and power had changed her. Claire understood that their paths were different now. Jack joined her, standing quietly beside her. "Do you think she will return?" he asked. Claire shook her head slightly. "Perhaps, but even if she does, we will be ready. We learned from her attacks and from our own mistakes. The colony is stronger now." The next day, Claire organized training for the settlers. They practiced with weapons, learned strategies for defending the colony, and worked in teams to improve coordination. Even those who had been too afraid before now moved with confidence and purpose. Settlers repaired the damage, cleared debris, and rebuilt structures. The colony was scarred, but it was alive. Families worked together, sharing food and resources, and helping those who had been injured. The community grew closer, stronger, united by the trials they had endured. One evening as the sun set, Claire and Jack watched the settlers from the platform. They were tired, but their faces showed determination and hope. The colony had been tested, and they had passed. Claire felt proud of every person who had fought, endured, and survived. Jack turned to her. We did not just survive the attacks. We proved that humans can stand against any force, even one led by someone as skilled as Alina Hart. Claire nodded. Yes, and we will continue to do so. This is our home, and we will protect it with everything we have. Our courage, our strategy, and our unity are stronger than any weapon. That night, the colony gathered for a small ceremony to honor those who had fought bravely. Settlers shared stories of heroism and clever tactics. They remembered the sacrifices, but they also celebrated the victories. Claire and Jack stood together, proud and determined to lead their people forward. As the stars appeared in the sky, Claire whispered to Jack, "This last goodbye has changed everything. We have faced death, betrayal, and overwhelming odds, but we survived, and that shows what humanity can do." Jack smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We are ready for whatever comes next. Together, we are unstoppable." The colony slept under the night sky, scarred but alive, united, and stronger than ever. Claire and Jack looked out over their home, knowing that humans could endure, fight, and protect what mattered most. The last goodbye had not been an end, but the beginning of a stronger, braver future for all of them.